Good morning, everybody. Dean Kuloir here. Thanks so much for tuning in. Hope everyone is doing fantastic. Happy Friday to all of you tuning in. And a quick shout out to everyone tuning in from LinkedIn, from YouTube, from Facebook, and also to Sweta's audience as well, tuning in from LinkedIn and YouTube. Thanks so much for tuning in. And as you're aware, I have an amazing guest today. Sweta Regmi is with me, and we're going to be speaking about culture fit. And I'm going to be bringing Sweta out shortly. Don't feel shy. Feel free to start saying hello in the comments. Let us know who you are, where you're tuning in from, and what questions you might have about culture fit, about navigating culture fit. What is culture fit? Is it a reasonable thing? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Is it like something completely irrelevant? Like that's what we're going to be discussing today. So before I go ahead and bring out Sweta, I did want to give you a quick word from my sponsor of this episode, and that is the 2023 Evolve Tech Summit, which is coming up in August, which is sponsored by NIPCA and Black Tech. So that's going to be in August. I will be one of the panelists at this event as well. So make sure you check it out. For more information, just go to nipca.ca/evolve 2023. If you're an IT professional, this is definitely an event you do not want to miss. So make sure you come on out and check it out. So with that being said, now myself and Sweta, we've been in, we've collaborated a few times on LinkedIn, and I was recently on Sweta's LinkedIn audio rooms. So if you're not a, if you're if you happen to be someone who don't know who Sweta is, so Sweta is a founder and CEO of Teach and Do, with more than a decade of experience from the hiring world from top employers. She's a certified career and resume strategist, speaker, and LinkedIn community top voice for career development coaching, job search strategist, and a top interviewing voice, specializing in empowering internationally trained immigrants and newcomers to Canada with her lived and tested career strategy. Sweta's recognized position as the leading job search expert to follow on LinkedIn has earned her media recognition and widespread exposure, with her insights and strategies being featured by prominent outlets such as CBC National News, Global National News, CNBC, CTV News, City News, Fox 26 News, Globe and Mail, Yahoo News, National Post, MSN, LinkedIn News, and many, many more. She hosts weekly live shows, which I highly recommend you folks check out, on career-related topics on Teach and Do Career Channel on YouTube. Additionally, Sweta's inspiring book, co-authored with 21 resilient women, stories of courage, growth, and transformation, also was an Amazon bestseller. So everyone, make sure you join me in the comments as well in giving a very warm welcome to Sweta. She's a very busy person, so it's a huge honor to have her on my live stream. So Sweta, thank you so much for joining, and it's so great to have you here with me today.
That's great. What a lovely introductions. Thank you. Because I felt like, was that me? Like, was that me? Really, is that me? And you said I'm very busy. Never for you, Dean.
Oh, thank you so much.
I go to places where I feel there's a sense of belonging, and obviously you happen to be one of them. So that's why we regularly collaborate with one another, and it's fantastic view that we share coming from the hiring background, and who else out there where I can partner together.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sweta. And so, Sweta, look, we're here today. We're going to be discussing this whole challenge about culture fit. Now, we were briefly chatting before. I told you up front, my thoughts on culture fit is, and I'm not going to be speaking too much today. It's going to be all you. But, as a recruiter, this is one of those things that I found very frustrating because I feel like it's a bunch of BS personally, like this whole culture fit thing. I presented like fantastic, amazing, highly skilled candidates. And when I get the response, and by the way, recruiters out there will agree with me. If you're a recruiter, make sure, comment and let me know if you've experienced this as well. But, hiring managers just deciding to reject someone. And I'm like, okay, what's the reason? Why do you want to reject this amazing candidate? Oh, well, they weren't a culture fit. Like, what does that mean? So it was such a frustrating thing for me as a recruiter, and so many recruiters out there. But Sweta, like, just so that we can define this for people who don't know what this is, what do organizations mean when they refer to cultural fit or culture fit?
Wow, where do I even start? I mean, like, for those of you who don't know me, like I was a hiring manager, and I'd be the first one to raise my hand, and I had no idea why am I rejecting, and I would say cultural fit. Yeah. I think after, like, let's say, looking at it, my hiring journey as a hiring manager in award-winning company, I've self-reflected it, right? What does that mean? Because nobody actually sat down and then told us this is exactly what means to be cultural fit or not a cultural fit, to the point that we have fired people, terminated based on the fit, what does that fit look like? And to me now, having that experience and seeing from the both side of world as a hiring person, um, they're a loophole. So employers do not have to just say, this is why we're firing you, because that could actually potentially open that lawsuit and discrimination. And I think the cultural fit is something, it's really safe to go out there and say, you're not a fit. You don't have to give the reason, right? I don't like
Yeah,
you. I'm not going to say I don't like you. I don't
that's
like
right.
your tone. I'm not going to say I don't like your tone. I don't like your accent. I'm not going to say I don't like your accent, right? And I think for people of color, people like us who have an accent, you don't have an accent. You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
like people like me who has accent, who are a newcomer in Canada, I'm an immigrant in Canada. I would probably get rejected based on how I talk, based on my personality, and they would hide behind that soft skills. I'm like, how are you even measuring that soft skills?
that's
Don't
right.
tell me you don't have a soft skills. Like, tell me, how do you measure that? And I'm huge on develop the soft skills. I'm like, how? How are you going to measure? Let's say if I've worked hard, how am I going to be measured, right? And I think there are a lot of discrimination and biases. And when people are trying to hire for cultural fit, what they're doing is they're opening the can of worm, unconscious bias right there. And they're trying to say, you know what, we just want to work with a similar type of mindset. And that compromises the DEI factor, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion right there. And we talk about it, we're preaching about it, but you're rejecting clients and everybody out there, the job seekers out there, saying that you're not a cultural fit. Define the fit, because every culture is different. If you cannot define the culture, how are you going to reject it? Because the culture changes from department to department, employer
That's
to
right.
employer.
Yeah.
How am I, as a candidate, going to fit in? I'm not going to try to fit in. Enough with this bullshit trying to fit in, right?
Mhm.
Hire me for qualifications. You're basing the hiring process based on based on if I like you and personality. And that's a whole, the biases right there. So you and I are absolutely aligned, and it's coming from the hiring manager who dropped the ball, right? I've
Yeah.
learned a lesson. Would I go back and do it again? Absolutely not.
Yeah, and it's just so frustrating, right? When you see so many like talented people. I mean, they have the right skills, they have the right knowledge, the right abilities, and these hiring teams, they not, obviously not all hiring teams, but it's just such an easy way to reject someone without like you said, without having to explain anything and further justify anything. And yeah, I totally agree. How do you measure, like, how do you measure culture fit? Like, it's not something you can measure and analyze and that kind of thing. So definitely agree with you on that. And is so Sweta, I mean, you kind of already alluded to this, and I'm pretty sure I know what your response to this would be. But is culture fit hiring outdated? And if yes, why do companies still do this whole culture fit thing? And what advice do you have for job seekers trying to navigate culture fit?
I always tell people, I work with a lot of immigrants and newcomers as well, right? And I was extremely lucky that I worked with the award-winning company where DEI was not even talk, but then we used to hire a lot of immigrants and newcomers as well. And I've worked with a diverse mindset. And I'm extremely lucky that I can talk about it because I've seen myself in the room, boardroom with the leadership team, where I'm probably one of the South Asian person. You know what I mean? So I feel it at that time? Did I feel it that, you know what, I am the only person out there? Did I feel left out? No, not at that time, right? Because I thought that, oh my God, they really like me. I can't believe they gave me this chance. Now, when I'm self reflecting back, I don't think they gave me the chance. You know what? I deserve to be there. I was talented enough to get that seat on the table. I don't think they did me any favor, because no managers, no one will hire you to do you a favor, because we need to make them look good. The managers, managers going to get the promotion based on us.
Yeah.
Their KPIs and our KPIs are similar. We got to look for those managers who believe in that mindset. And how are you going to find out? you know what? Just go to their website, start talking to them, call their contact center, use their product, see if there's people like you. That's really powerful when you actually go through that. How would it look like when you start working in there? And if you don't feel that sense of belonging, I've done that. I've asked when I got laid off later on in my life. I have gone around and I asked, like, can I come in? Can I come and talk to you? Right. And then I said, can you give me a tour of cafeteria? Can you give me a tour of your team? Can you give me a tour of your contact center? Right. There's the protocol, security and everything, but they like you have that relationship. You can ask, do you feel that sense of belonging? Right. Because the last thing you want to do is that's your dream employer. And it's not going to be a dream company if you don't feel that sense of belonging. People, we all can get into that a quota. Hire
Mhm.
for diversity. I'm going to hire South Asian person, Black, Latino, whatever, right?
Yeah.
They have a quota. Companies, award-winning companies are measured. They're audited, actually. We used to have a system where executive is like, I can't afford to hire another like a male leader or a white leader. We need to get some people of color because they're like pushing it at the end of the year. And that's when I understood, oh, we are a quota system. But then what happens with the employer? Are you a number? Are you going to be given the voice? That's totally different, right? So
Yeah.
you got to talk to the people who look like you in there and ask them, are you just a number or are you really given the voice? Because without the voice, we can sit in the seat, have a fancy title. Are you able to go and implement the process change? Are they going to do that? Are they having a lot of red tape in there that you have to go and then feel that I don't think I belong here? These are the things. It's going to be too late if you don't find that information beforehand. So I say research better than quitting, because no job is honestly worth mental health. I quit 2 jobs after. I
Mhm.
didn't I moved to the brand new city from Toronto. I didn't feel the sense of belonging. The employer who preached the I didn't feel it. They hired me
Mhm.
for quota, probably, right? I didn't feel that I belonged there. So instead of fighting back, I said, screw it. I can be consultant now, right? This is when
Yeah.
you get to decide how far do you want to stretch. Do you want to fight back or do you want to go now and be an advocate? And I call these corporate BS out all the time in my posts based on my lived experience.
Yeah, that's and it's a great point you brought up about, obviously there are these DEI practices by organizations, but you also don't want to be someone that's just filling in a quota. That's what you're saying, right? Like you got to make sure you're not just filling in some spot for, okay, they need a black person or a brown person or whatever the case is. What are so aside from speaking to people that are probably at the company, uh, you know that are maybe the same race as you or a person of color, what are some other things people can do to really figure that out?
If they're a cultural fit,
Yeah. Or that the company's not just trying to fill some quota, that they're going to be valued as a member of the team, and as you said, have a voice.
so, I've been looking at it. Things that matters to me right now is if you want to work with a company like that. So let's say holiday season comes in and Christmas season comes in. We all pump out the flyer like holiday season, give back and holiday, right? Now, are these companies posting, let's say, the holiday for Diwali, Eid, right? There are so many diversity aspect to it, right? How are they showcasing their talent? Do they have people like someone wearing turban, hijab in there?
Yeah.
Right? Do they have someone in executive community, let's say in a boardroom, who sound like me? Right? Someone has an accent that I feel like, oh my God, I could be there someday. A woman right there who looks like me, who's wearing hijab or turban, whatever it is,
Yeah. Yeah.
do you see that in that company? And if you just see all bunch of white male in there, nothing against it. I have had amazing white mentors in my life. There are people, they fight for us. I appreciate them. But there are people like somewhere else. There's always going to be bad apple in every kind of race, right?
Hmm.
So you got to go and then see, are you going to be fitting in there, right? And that's a giveaway for me personally. I tell my client as well later on, when they are going to reject you, first thing I want you to understand is, okay, are they rejecting you because you are somebody else that they're trying to, like, say you got to fit in. It should be other way around. Immigrants are cultural add. Don't try to tell us we need you to fit in.
Yeah.
That's not how the DI happens, right? They left their home, but that doesn't mean that they left their brain and skills behind. All they
Yeah,
need,
exactly. Yeah, that's a good one.
all they need is like literally some kind of directions, and maybe I get it. There's a gap. You have to know the local thing. If I move to somewhere else, I need to learn the lingo, the jargon, like, culture and stuff like that, right? That's learning process, but I'm not going to fit in to please somebody else, right? And that should be the other way around. We got to value that for immigrant, especially newcomers, and especially if you're trying to get 1.5 million immigrant in by 2000, like let's say in a couple of years from now, we got to do better than what we're doing right now. Like bridging programs not going to work if the same bridging programs are taught by people who've never traveled outside. They've never hired the talent, right? Absolutely not. That's why people are not getting results on it, right? I mean, who is teaching those courses matter too to the immigrant. Don't tell me hidden job market is there. Don't apply online. We've seen it. We've had the huge, debate on that. I don't believe in it. If the jobs are not posted, you should be like literally holding accountable, holding employers accountable. Why is it not posted? Is it fair? So does that mean that newcomers and immigrant would have to go above and beyond to find these jobs? Like, how's the process fair? If anyone right now, award-winning companies are telling you, we don't post the job, it's all hidden, we hide it from you, that's not the employer I want to work with. I want to make it very clear process. I don't want to be hired based on networking. That's a biases now. I don't want to be hired based on hiring manager likes me, right? I want you to hire me based on the qualification. As simple as that. How hard is it?
Yeah, exactly. Now, Sweta, you mentioned this term culture add. So can you talk a bit more about that? Like, what is culture add versus culture fit?
Give you a perfect example. Working in the industry where we've hired immigrants, I didn't even know that. And now I kind of think about it. Oh my God, that just happened. So people had this ethnic name. And all the time, like I hired them, stuff like that, all the managers as well. When the pay stuff came in, the name was ethnic name. They had an English name, right? And I'm like confused, like, who is this person? And then the people, that's me. And I'm like, it was Oriental name first, Chinese name, right, on their pay stub. And I'm like, not understanding it. And everyone had that English name. I thought that's a norm out there. When people move from China, they would have English name, and that's normal, right? And I had some of the Indian name who changed that Indian name to the English name as well. And it didn't click me at that time. Yeah. I didn't even bother asking. I'm like, okay, that's what they do, right? And then now, fast forward so many, years later, I was thinking, they were trying to be cultural fit instead of cultural add. And I saw people wearing hijab all of a sudden after a couple of years. And they were always wearing it apparently. But then now they're trying to fit in. They got hired. And then it's like, okay, now I'm going to be cultural add. So the cultural add does not happen after you fit in. It happens right in the moment from the resume, not changing your name, whitening. If you Google whitening the name, there's a study out there. Same resume, same qualification, English name versus the ethnic name, who got the call, who got hired, right? So what are we going to do about it? So we can't control those things, but do you want to work with the people who are trying to tell you cultural, be a fit, right? What's going to happen? Can you imagine a little bit later on? I would rather not work for those employer who's going to screen me out based on my name, because I don't want to fight. I don't want to be fit in later on. So you want to be cultural add from day one, without compromising your identity and moral ethic as well. But then again, I have done so many things that I'm not proud of it to fit in. And this is why I'm giving it away. It's not going to work in the long term. But again, there's a way to do it, to be a cultural add by not pissing people off, right? Strategy is the must if you want to be cultural add, because you don't want to call out everything. You want to do it very strategically if you want to get that promotions, right? There's different technique. But bottom line is, being a cultural add is something that you should be proud of. The fact that you can talk different languages, you should be proud of. It's not a weakness, right? The fact that you have an accent, it's a cultural add, right? So things like that matters to us when it comes to DEI.
Yeah, I think that's I think that would represent true diversity. I mean, it's not just about race and all of that stuff. I mean, diversity of perspective, experience, all those things. I mean, wouldn't that be way more, I mean, useful to an organization rather than, hey, you gotta come in here, you gotta act this way, you gotta speak this way, you gotta do this way. I mean, that sounds very restrictive. It's not. I mean, it's just, it doesn't make any. It never made any sense to me. And speaking about the whole name thing, just a quick story here. Like many years ago, I was working in this sales role at a company. It was a tech company, and we were selling to educational what was it, schools in the U.S. So after I got hired, then my manager calls me in and he's like, "Look, this is really awkward, but I'm gonna have to ask you to adjust your name, your last name, and your first name, because there are certain schools that we sell to that they don't really like outsiders. So basically, they told me to, westernize my my first and last name, and and today I'm thinking, is that even legal? Like, to ask someone to do that? I was like, oh my god. So anyway, these things unfortunately do happen, right? And I'm in total agreement with you in regards to that. Now, Sweta, is culture ad, is that something job seekers, truly have control or influence over, or is that entirely dependent on the employer? Because if a company's set in their ways and they're like, no, we need people to fit in, like, are those companies that people should avoid, or should there be more questions they should ask, or what are your thoughts on that?
A great question, Dean. It's two kind of thing, right? Like, from job seekers and candidate perspective, there are things you can do to be a cultural ad without compromising your identity and who you are. But then I think there's uncontrollable factors during the hiring process, and that's not your problem, right?
Mm.
And I think it's easier for us to sit here and say, don't be a cultural, fit, but people have bills to pay. They give up. At the end of the day, they're like, I'm just going to try it and see. They're desperate. They need to put food on the table. So I think, again, going back to the employer, we used to have policy, the abuse policy for employee. And let's say if clients are screaming and clients are using the term, like in a racist term, anything like that, when they hear, I used to work in contact center, right? Award-winning contact center. And if someone would actually call me out on accent or whatever it is, we would document it, we'll, note the file. And didn't matter to us if it was $1 million client, we had our abuse policy, would be sending them a warning. Hey, you're not going to act like this.
Mhm.
And it has happened once that everybody, the client, whatever English name, come in and then like, I want to talk to somebody who sounds like Canadian,
Oh
who do
wow.
not have any accent, who has English name. And then somebody transferred the call, and the other person's name was Muhammad. He
Oh
sounded like Canadian, but his name was
yeah.
Muhammad. Now, I want English name. And then it went to the other manager whose name was Indian name, but the sounded like Canadian. She was born here, and he called her out too. Then we fired them, right? The $1 million didn't matter to us because we had that policy. So is your organizations, like employers, are going to have your back, or are you like, I personally believe that for those people who are working the customer service industry, customers are always not right. We're brainwashed that, right? We need to call things out, and we need to have a policy to protect the employee when the things like that happen. We need to really have that balls to say, you can't talk to our employee like that. And you need to work with the employers like that who will protect you, who will have your back when every doors are shut down. Because as a minority person of color, if we see other people protecting us who are born in here, who are white, I feel powerful, right?
Yeah.
Instead of us fighting against each other people who have a privilege should be lifting us up to give us a voice. And that's when we go out there and then build that confidence. So cultural ad is something that it's culture within the organizations, within the employee department, and it all boils down to how they are trained, how the leaders are hired, who is in the leadership team, have they seen the world around. Enough of just hiring people who just are born here. You
Mhm.
need to hire people who've seen the world, right? And they understand the perspective from the outside world as well.
Yeah, and so Sweta, at the interviews, how do, like, for the job seekers out there who might be wondering, okay, so I should present myself as a culture ad. How do they actually articulate that and present themselves as a culture ad at the job interview?
I think asking the question, let's go back to the qualification, right? So when they were talking about the technical skills, you already have it. That's the reason you're getting an interview. And what happens with a lot of newcomers that I've seen it, and you've probably seen it too, just the way you said it, was I'm presenting the client and all of a sudden, like, they're invited for an interview. What's happening there, Dean? We know, right? They really like you on paper. Right.
Exactly.
And when they're sitting down, probably something's coming out an interview, which is kind of like, okay, well, the person, maybe no Canadian experience coming out, but they're not going to reject you based on you don't have a Canadian experience, unless they're stupid and foolish. And if it's a regulated industry, then yeah, but they should have disclosed that on the job description, right? So they could probably say, well, we're looking for someone with a local experience. I would strategically call that out. Can you explain more on it, right? What would the local experience have versus what would I not have, right? So that would help you understand as well. Not call it out like in a wall like this, but then there's a way to call it out and ask question. I always tell people, do not assume, seek to understand, right? Before assuming it. You're allowed to ask those questions strategically, right? And they're trying to tell you to be a fit. I'm just going to hire you locally, but call that out and say, like, if you're applying for marketing role for social media manager, whatever it is, can you please tell me what would the local person have and what would I not have? What specific skills I'm lacking? I'm willing to upgrade it. If you can point me towards it, I'm willing to work on it. I'm willing to upgrade my skills. What process do you have to train people? You can be social media manager for award-winning company. When you go to a different sector, different employer, you still have to learn the tools and everything. They do it differently, right? What does it have to do with the local experience? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you got to hold them accountable strategically, saying that what am I lacking so I can give you what you want, kind of thing.
Yeah, I really like that because it's like you're in a very professional and courteous way. You're kind of calling them out, and you're basically letting them know, hey, okay, how does that make sense? And you're kind of questioning that. So what you're saying is basically, don't just take that rejection at face value. Probe and investigate a bit further, and be willing to hear them out a bit more and ask them what exactly they mean by that. And I guess from there you can contrast that with your international experience or that experience outside of Canada. And I recruit in the tech industry, so for me it's like this whole Canadian experience thing. It makes zero sense because IT technology is pretty much the same and consistent no matter where you are in the world. So speaking of this whole Canadian experience thing, and for those of you who might be tuning in from maybe other countries, maybe in your local region, you have something similar like lack of American experience or something. This is an issue faced by people in new countries. What are some tips that you might have for navigating this aside from that great tip you just shared?
I think we, as a newcomer and newcomers, after working with so many of them, majority of us focus on what we don't have. It's it's a mindset sometimes. You got to understand if you're called for interviews, It's not about Canadian experience. They see it. Now it's coming across an interview that you are not able to handle those kind of job because they feel like, okay, well, there's a gap. And these majority of the people who've never, attempted to even know the outside part of the world are in hiring place, right? And I think they don't understand how it works. And I'll give you one example. A lot of I work with a lot of AML and banking sector compliance employee and stuff like that. So majority of the immigrants, when they're applying for the role, they have that, and I don't blame them. They have that thinking of, I can do AML, I can do compliance, I can do fraud and loss, right? And I'm thinking, wait. Okay, that was your responsibility back home? Yeah, we got to break it down. You can't, as a Canadian employer, I'm not hiring you for 4 different roles. Yeah. There's accountability, there's a clear job descriptions. You can't even touch, the other part, especially if you're unionized. You can't even touch a single job from outside. You have to stick to it. You can't even shadow. You can't even help out. You cannot even get cross-trained. So you got to understand, what do you talk about in an interview? Yeah. Interview is not about what you did. Interview is all about what they want from you. Only give the information they want based on the job description. We get into the spiral mode of, I've done this. I'm like jack of all. I know everything. I'm expert in everything. Dean, are you expert in everything? No, I am not expert in everything. We as an immigrant sometimes have to let it go and say, I don't know. It's okay to say, I don't know, but here's what I can do. Here's what I can learn, right? And I feel like some mentality, it's a cultural perspective as well. When we say, I don't know, you know what? They feel like No one should say I don't know. And
Hmm.
it's really hard for us to actually say I don't know. And sometimes when I get invited for guest speaker, I get randomly, and it's a community organizations within our community. They invite me for random topic.
Hmm.
And I tell them I am not the right fit. But in their mind, it's like, oh my gosh, she's a big shot. She's not coming. But I'm being very real. I'm like, I don't think I'm the right fit, honestly, but here's someone you can invite them. We need to learn we're not the right fit for every role. So that's why you need to be an expert on it, apply for the right role, and you talk about that role only. Don't go like I'm an expert on AML and compliance, because here AML and compliance is two different departments,
Hmm.
right? It's okay to have that kind of skills, but you cannot be expert on both.
Yeah, totally agree with you on that. And so any what are some final thoughts you might have? And we're gonna, by the way, for those of you tuning in, we're gonna get into your questions now. So if you have any questions for Sweta, start putting them in the comments. Any final thoughts regarding culture fit ad, and the lack of Canadian experience, Sweta?
I'm doing the workshop coming up on Monday. This is going to be 5-day course, which is for free. I haven't done this ever. In fact, I don't do free courses, webinars. I've attended so many webinars and free courses. I didn't feel like I learned so much. So I developed this framework for immigrants, especially immigrants in Canada who are struggling to bounce back to the right role, and newcomers who are really qualified, but why are they not getting that? So I'm walking them through the career strategy plan that worked for so many of my clients, including myself. That's based on my live strategy, right? As an immigrant who's climbed up the ladder, 9 promotion within 12 years, and gotten ahead in life. But that doesn't mean that, what, I didn't fail. I got rejected too. So that framework I'm teaching starting this Monday for 5 days for free around noon. And there's the link. You can sign up. We're going to be closing this soon. You can go into my profile. It's on a YouTube handle as well. At the bottom, you can see it. Sign up and save the spot. I guarantee you, you will learn so much. And you also get the workbook, homework, and exercise as well. I've literally, that's my baby. And I wanted to open this for immigrant community. I want to create the immigrant community because I feel like we don't have much here. They have too much misinformation. They're skaters. So I want to work with those people who are really capable and who are not able to bounce back. They need a little bit of directions, right? This is the class for them. Save your spot. I'll see you. And if you actually not able to watch in live, you can get the replay as well a little bit later on for a limited time. So I highly recommend. And I'm going to be coming up with the immigrant exclusive one size does not fit all career strategy. And you'll get to see it as well. I've never done this before. And this is something is exclusively for immigrants. And we're going to talk about cultural ad and fit there. And what goes in resume? How do you not talk in interview, right? So in the organizations, when they're asking you this, how are they calibrating? How are you being scored? I have a framework actually used that I've used it personally as well as a hiring manager. I have a framework from HR people who worked with me together to develop that framework as well. So these are real technique I'm going to teach you on my class. So at least you walk away with great resources and then go from there and see what would the result be like. So I'm truly excited. I'm nervous at the same time. I've never done this, but I'm really excited for those immigrant community. At least I get to see their pain and we can tackle it in 5 days.
Awesome. Sounds good. And the link again, I've put it right here on the screen. It's teachanddo.com/workshop. Sweta, is this mostly for newcomers to Canada or any?
It's a newcomer. So basically, it's a newcomer to Canada, plus the immigrant who landed in Canada and they're still stuck in the survival job. They're not getting a role that you wanted to. And guess what? I have a lot of clients, past client who made a 6-figure in newcomer Canada. People like Rishi, people like Ishra, who is in Amazon, working as an HR manager, wearing hijab, right? I have real people like Kriti, who's going to come and talk about how did she get the job in 20 days and hopped and shopped and made more money. These are a newcomer. They're going to come in and talk to you about it. It is possible, but it's not going to be possible without you executing it. And there's a right strategy and wrong strategy. So they're going to talk about it live on the show as well. If you join in, you will get to know their journey, inspiring stories.
Amazing. So folks tuning in, make sure you check that out. Again, the link is www.teachanddo.com/workshop. And I think in the comments, Ebenezer was kind enough to copy and paste the link as well. So thanks, Ebenezer. So make sure you check that out, folks, for more information. Sweta, like, how can people who want to, further connect with you, or find out more about how you can help them? What's the best place for people to find you?
So I have maxed out on connections, and I have like so many thousands of connections, like, requests pending. So I don't connect because I don't have connections. LinkedIn has 30,000 connection limit. Follow me, engage in my content if it resonates, and you can always message me. I'd be more than happy to reply back. And if you feel like you need more than that, there's an appointment calendar on my profile teaching you go to appointment. I offer 30 minutes discovery call just to see where you're lacking and if you want to work with me. I don't work with everybody because I feel like I'm not the right fit for everybody, but I know that I'm right for somebody somewhere, and I'll recommend you where to go. Maybe free resources. I have YouTube channel. You can consume the contents right there. I have blogs. I have TikTok, by the way. Find me.
Yes,
I have a thread.
yes.
Did you open thread? I open thread too.
Oh, is it? How do you find it, by the way, so far? Like,
You know what? Anything. I'm just testing it out. The
yeah.
worst part was I was not an Insta. I don't have a personal Insta account, just a company account, right? So I had to
Okay.
open Insta just for that. And I have like probably 2 or 3 followers. Follow me on Thread, guys, because I'm not getting any followers on Insta. Let's chat on Thread.
Awesome. Sounds good. So, Sweta, thank you so much for tuning in. And I think we'll be collaborating on another of your future live streams as well.
We're supposed to do that. Remember a LinkedIn
Yes, the
profile
LinkedIn
review
profile
that we
review.
did for audio live was a hit. Oh my God, Dean, we
Yeah.
got to do that. So tune in for with me and Dean. Probably coming down in August. We get to nail down the time. Usually I go live on my channel Friday at 11. So tune in and come in. It was amazing to do that LinkedIn profile review. So it's great. I can't wait to do that again with you, Dean.
Absolutely. And thanks so much for that, Sweta. And I look forward to collaborating with you again. And again, folks, highly recommend everyone follows Sweta. She posts so much great and practical information and advice. So make sure you definitely connect with her and follow her. And again, make sure you check out the workshop. Again, it's teachanddo.com/workshop. Sweta, thank you so much for your time today, and all the valuable information and knowledge you shared. Look forward to collaborating with you again in the future. And thanks so much, everyone, for tuning in. Hope everyone has a wonderful weekend ahead, and everybody take care.
Thank you, everybody. And to immigrant out there, you know what? You left your home, not your brain and skills behind. Take care.
I love that. Yes.